Flags and the Scooby Doo movie in theaters June 14th. Meanwhile, save $7 on tickets when you pick up the new Scooby Doo movie soundtrack. Six Flags and Scooby Doo. So big, so close. She sings these words to me. She sings these words to me.
Good evening, fellow ghouls and specters alike. Your ghost host with the most, Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive, here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs as we recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So light the jack-o'-lantern, suit up, and grab the candy dish as we revive and recount tonight's spooky selection. The Scooby Doo movie from 2002, the live action one. The CGI is so bad.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, God. That's right, Dragon. That's right. It was the summer of 2002. Dragon, this was my summer of 69, man. It was like I was 11 years old. Everything seemed possible. Life was just like a bowl of cherries ready for the picking. And it was the summer of Six Flags. It was the summer of Scooby Doo. Man, oh man, Dragon, hearts were broken. No, I'm just kidding. But Dragon, this was a formative summer in my childhood. I was 11 years old, so right in that grasp of like, you know, kind of thinking that I'm not a kid anymore, not quite being a teenager yet, and, you know, kind of in that tween phase of my life. And there's a lot of things that happened to me over the summer, Dragon. A lot of things that happened to me. Most importantly, my first trip to Disneyland. A little bit formative, Dragon. That experience may be a little bit formative to my experience, and maybe one of the reasons why I'm still doing these stupid Disney podcasts to this day. So, Dragon, there's so many things I remember about this summer. That commercial being one of them, being one of the prominent ones, honestly. And it still sticks to me to this day. Yeah, the summer of Six Flags, the summer of the Scooby Doo movie. But Dragon, let's talk about the Scooby Doo movie. I just want to kind of get my little summer of 2002 monologue out of the way really quick. I apologize about that. Okay, so I was really looking forward to revisiting this, Dragon, because obviously I have a lot of nostalgia for it. It came out in a really formative time in my life. And of course, it's got James Gunn as one of the writers. I do remember it having a lot of meta humor. I remember there's one scene in particular that me and my sister just like the most funny thing in the world at the time when we saw it together. And honestly, Dragon, I hate to say it, Haunted Mansion is a movie where it's like, we've kind of went over it. It's like, it's not great. It's not even very good, but it's pretty watchable. Dragon, this thing is not aged well. I mean, there's good parts of it. There's good parts of it. I think the cast overall is solid. That's honestly probably about it. Honestly, I think besides the solid casting, I think the rest of this movie is a little bit of the mess. The CGI is just honestly some of the worst CGI in the time period. Oh man, I don't really think much of the meta humor holds up all that well. It just feels kind of oddly cruel in some aspects, especially what they do with Scrappy. And yeah, this, I don't know, man. The crude humor in this movie goes way too far, Dragon. I hate the scene of Scooby and Shaggy having the bird and fart off. That was a word jumble right there. The burp and fart off. Dragon, that is like, I hate that scene so much. I like, I'm not one to to hold up my nose at a good flatulence joke, and I do think there are good flatulence jokes. That is not one of them. It's just disgusting and kind of is just like, what are you doing to Shaggy, man? This is Shaggy Rogers. Why are you demeaning him like this? I mean, oddly enough, Dragon, the best part about this movie is, in spite of some of the dumb, crude humor stuff, Matthew Lillard did kind of give Shaggy Rogers a second life after Casey Kasem. And I really do think he fits the role like a glove, and I'm glad we have him on for the voice work in the future going forward. I really think he kind of embodies the character sort of inside and out. He's as good at the character in live action. I think arguably he's even better in animation, where he can just really let the voice work take over for Shaggy. And I definitely think Matthew Lillard is the most valuable thing to come out of this movie. And that's not nothing, Dragon. That's not nothing, because Matthew Lillard is a big cog in the modern day success of Scooby Doo. So I respect this movie for some of the things it does. I do think there's like a couple moments of meta humor that do hold up, including the scene with that my sister and I love that I'll get into. But just generally speaking, man, the plot's a mess. The CGI is atrocious. The crude humor really doesn't hold up. I mean, I'll say this much, Dragon. Out of the things we've covered so far on Hijinks, this was definitely the least fun to watch. I was kind of cringing in a lot of areas.
Well, in all fairness, we kind of knew what we were in for, and so, folks, the big reason we're doing, you're probably wondering, of all the things they're talking about with Scooby Doo, why are they doing the movie for Haunted Holiday Hijinks? Well, folks, this year, of course, is the 50th anniversary of Scooby Doo. Yay! Of course, we want to talk about something Scooby Doo. Unfortunately, well, I mean, it would, Scooby Natural already happened. We already covered that. Kind of believe either within the year it came out or roughly we'll have. Point being, we covered that as fresh as we could with Scooby Natural, and we had a great time during that, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
You and I knowing nothing about Supernatural, but still just kind of going into it fresh. And it's kind of the cross. Basically, Scooby Doo has kind of a no-brainer. Scooby Doo has wonderful crossover appeal, so you can never miss. And I'm sure there was some other crossover stuff we could have done. I mean, believe me, there was stuff we could have. We
did cover the Batman and Robin stuff at one point.
Absolutely, we've covered that. Of course, we covered one of my recent favorites. We covered the Batman Brave and the Bold and Meet Scooby Doo. That was tremendous. I still love that thing so much. But that's the thing. We covered a lot of crossover stuff already. I mean, anything we would have covered, it would have been a little like we want to do the Scooby Doo movies proper. It's kind of why we kind of held off instead of like doing one here. We wanted to kind of do kind of a package set whenever we get to that. So it's kind of why we
exactly. Importantly, one of the big things going around in terms of 90s nostalgia right now, Dragon, are those ones that you mentioned, and I just want to kind of list them off because they're all just fucking solid in my opinion. So we've got Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. We've got Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
One of my favorites.
Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invasion, and Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of nostalgia for that last one, buddy boy. I'll tell you. I got fields of nostalgia for that one.
Oh God. Dragon, I honestly have a ton of nostalgia for all four of those.
I mean, I do, but I'm just saying that one in particular.
I think most of my nostalgia probably comes from Zombie Island, if I'm being honest, because that thing was hyped up as so much of an event when it first came out. But I've got nostalgia for all four of these, man. All four of these are just solid. But like we said, folks, I think those four really fit better as a package. We're going to go ahead and hold off. Trust me, it's honestly kind of been a bucket list thing for me to get to those four movies at some point, and we didn't want to just have one in the Haunted Holiday Hijinks roster. So honestly, we kind of landed on Scooby-Doo the movie because, in spite of its flaws, like I said, Dragon, it's good casting. I do think it's good representation of the characters. Not so much, some of the, I think stuff like the animated movies we mentioned are way better at capturing the overall spirit of Scooby-Doo. This one is a little mean-spirited, probably due part to James Gunn, honestly. But it's rough around the edges, but it does kind of have a lot of homage to the original. And like I said, the cast just feels very lived in, and it feels like a loving tribute when it wants to be. I don't know.
Well, anyway, so regardless, again, now we've kind of established why we picked it. But again, my nostalgia for this one, remember
Hold on, really quick in the comments. First of all, welcome Donovan Martin. He just says, "Oh God, this movie." and then it came from the '90s, Dragon. I want to address this. Scooby Doo 2 is better, and I definitely don't doubt it. It came from the '90s. I definitely don't doubt it. I haven't seen it, but I have heard good things about it. We'll for sure cover it at some point.
Wait. So you haven't seen it at all, or just not?
No, not at all.
Oh, real? Oh, yeah, I've seen that one a bunch of times.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get to it, but it's one of those things where we just, it'd be weird to jump into the sequel without covering the original. Although we did do that once with Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. But
yeah, but it was Home Alone 2. I mean, it's.
I mean, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York is clearly the best Home Alone movie.
I mean, you got the pigeon lady, you have the pigeon lady.
You've got the toy store scene, Dragon.
We do, yes.
You've got Tim Curry. I mean, what more do you want?
Oh my goodness. Tim Curry turning into the Grinch, man. The Grinch.
all right.
Anyway, editing aside.
It's a Home Alone 2 Lost in New York podcast.
Regardless, my point being, Donovan, I think I'd edge on you're correct, but I mean there are a few elements here I think comparatively you're going to find more positive to say about the sequel than this movie for sure. No qualms.
It came from the '90s is the one who pointed it out, not Donovan.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Right, so it came from the '90s. Basically, it came from the '90s. I echo that point too. But yeah, 2 I think has more redeeming qualities. But I mean, again, the original has a few things. But anyways, to get to my point here, so my nostalgia with the Scooby Doo movie. I forget if I saw this in theaters or not because I know I had the VHS tape and eventually the DVD. I remember on the DVD they really oversell the CD thing, like with the Six Flags thing. They're really selling.
It's the summer of Six Flags, Dragon. I don't know what to tell you. Sugar Ray.
Of course, for me, I had the more infamous introduction. Introduction to the Scooby Doo movie. I'm sure you recall the big teaser trailer.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus! Yes,
3 years.
Yeah, I'm so glad you bring that up.
Of course, this is 3 years before Batman Begins, and the Scooby Doo teaser. Essentially, I remember since Batman had gone dark ever since the Schumacher films. So basically, it starts off like you're seeing kind of a castle, which again could be a Wayne Manor. One could say we see the bat signal, and then essentially we revealed Scooby Doo. Like what?
And that first glimpse we get of the Scooby CGI, by the way, was not flattering.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm not. Look, I don't think it's great, but I honestly, compared to all the other CGI in the movie, I give the Scooby thing kind of a pass, and that's a necessary evil. I mean, obviously they couldn't use a real dog, so they had otherwise you do like the talking dog, and the old cats versus dog effects where you have like the animate the mouth moving like the story. Whenever we do that. The point being, I get the CG Scooby is a necessary evil, but obviously the budget went to other things where it should have all went to the dog. In retrospect, it really should have.
I mean, anyway, I honestly don't see why the monsters in this movie couldn't have been practical.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly my point. So I'm saying all of it. We should have put all of that money into the dog. Everything else we should have done practically.
Because everything else looks like total shit anyways.
Anyway,
total shit.
Okay, we'll save it for when we get there. My point is, what my thoughts on the movie, if I had to boil it down here to a thesis, would be that this movie, I respect what the Scooby-Doo movie was going for, but in a sense, I think it was too ambitious for its own good. In that, it's kind of hurt by it's hurt by the fact they were in production while this was happening, so they had no real control over this, from what I understand. They had the disadvantage of this is like after Zombie Island, I think, Witch's Ghost. This is like after these come out, so they're already screwed when we do these Scooby stories where we actually have real supernatural stuff in the movie. And of course, with Zombie Island, when we break up the gang, we get them back together and say they were kind of screwed in the story department. That we've done it better on home video already, so that wasn't doing them any favors. They kind of had that going against them. And the fact that So basically, that went beforehand. We had that going on beforehand. That really took a lot of their legs out of their story. And like, well, we already have the great version of that story. And the other sense is that the movie isn't sure what it wants to be. It isn't. That again, as we'll get into the background here. Obviously, James Gunn kind of had a take on the story, but that was very much this is like a pre-Guardians James Gunn. This is before James Gunn was able to kind of go a little bit more corporate. I mean that in a good sense, and that James Gunn was able to kind of broaden his horizons and how he can tell his James Gunn movie into kind of to a wider audience. So basically, James Gunn basically pitched Scooby Doo as a James Gunn movie. But it was again marketed as like, this is going to be kids' introduction to Scooby Doo for the 2002 crowd, which, as you can imagine, leads to a lot of issues, which I think is kind of why this movie is not exactly one to go back to in a hurry.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, I think there's a clever idea at the heart of this. It's got a great cast, and I think that's the big thing that carries this mostly. You get a great cast, and there's cleverness at the heart of it. It just doesn't come to the surface nearly enough. Anywho.
All right. So yeah, let's get into some background, Dragon. I mean, honestly, the one thing I know about the background is the fact that I'm sure the swell of those old movies, Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, etc., definitely led to kind of a Scooby-Doo renaissance, and so the studio really wanted to fast track a Scooby-Doo movie as fast as possible after that.
Essentially, so basically what was happening is there's kind of a groundswell that was starting to form when they did, I believe, like the new Adventures of Scooby-Doo or something along those lines. Maybe not New Adventures of Scooby-Doo, but it was like something. Basically, they rebranded. They brought Scooby-Doo back. They kind of rebranded a little bit after a while, and that was getting some traction. I assume reruns as well. But you're right. Basically, the Scooby-Sance was starting to take hold, and those movies did the home video releases. With your Zombie Island and such. They boosted things significantly. That was kind of like the last, like, okay, we were flirting around doing Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo on the big screen. This is exactly what we need. Unfortunately, what they forgot is that, hey, look at these great direct-to-video releases. Let's do the movie in live action, because we can't possibly put an animated film in theaters, right? Because that's just crazy.
Oh man, Zombie Island totally could have been in theaters. I don't know about any of the other ones. It's been a while since I've watched them. I know, I have mad love for Cyber Chase, but I know the budget on that thing was not great, so I don't think that would qualify as
that's a
theatrical movie.
You're right, that's a different
story. Zombie Island, man, Zombie Island totally could have been a theatrical movie if they wanted it to be.
Now, I can't prove it. I know many people will cite other examples, like, we have the Jetsons movie released theatrically. Everyone's going to go with the Jetsons example, I know it, but let me just mistake my claim here. Again, I'd cite Phantasm. Again, the last time we took a big gamble putting kind of a Batman movie in 2D in theaters. It didn't perform well, not very much, is why we don't have, until like Spider-Verse decades later, we don't have, animated superhero films based on actual properties, not including The Incredibles. On the big screen. So I always cite kind of Phantasms, like, especially with Warner Brothers of it all. That's kind of the main reason. That's like the last time we did that, it only basically made us $1 million versus like a $6 million budget. That's pretty much what they're looking at there. After making the money, basically made its money back and just kind of left into obscurity. So, anywho, but yeah, you're right. The point is, like, they're going for live action here, which again is always going to be a battle too. It's the first time we're taking Scooby-Doo and putting him in live action, which of course with your main kind of dog mascot of the whole piece could run into some iffy challenges. Good. So they get James Gunn. He writes the script, and this is James Gunn's first big studio movie, by the way. James Gunn is kind of like, at this point, he's kind of the indie darling, if you will. Kind of the he worked for Trump. He worked for Troma Films back in the day. That's where he got his first break. He did Tromeo and Juliet.
Yeah, sure.
That's the thing. So James Gunn, he basically had 2 films under his belt at that point. I don't know if he had any TV stuff going on. Basically, he'd been doing some writing on that, and they get him to do the writing on this. And basically, he had. He very much went for the whole meta adult concept here. Some people say it was PG-13. If I hear from Gunn, it was supposed to be an R-rated movie. Basically, it was James Gunn doing a Scooby-Doo movie without trying to be, without trying to play ball with Warner Brothers. Basically, let's just do a Scooby-Doo movie the way I want it. The Scooby-Doo for the die-hard fans of Scooby, people who grew up. Let's do a Scooby-Doo movie for the people who grew up with Scooby-Doo, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it kind of got watered down through the course of the production. They bring in Raja Gosnell. He's directing this. This guy directed Home Alone 3 and Big Mama's House. That kind of gives you a flair for this guy.
You know, he's got a style, Dragon. I'm not going to say it's a good style, but it's a style.
Of course, the thing that really kind of got this guy to get to those movies was that he was an editor on Home Alone and Mrs. Doubtfire. That's probably what kind of like helped build up some
All right,
clout.
well,
Like,
that's solid then. That's solid.
that is
work.
solid. You know, solid editing work for sure. Especially, of
Yeah.
course, Mrs. Doubtfire is fantastic editing, and as well as Home Alone too. So, you know, well, Home Alone itself. You know what I mean? Regardless, of course, the cast essentially. Here's the weird thing. So the cast, as you can probably tell, especially get someone like Matthew Lillard involved in the cast after he's doing something like Scream around this time. You know, the cast was very much sold on doing a James Gunn movie, this whole irreverent James Gunn Scooby Doo movie. But then over time, again, he had these changes, and which led to a lot of the clunkiness and kind of the direction of the performances. And so, well, again, not the performances, you know what I mean? Basically, they're kind of looking at it one way, and then the movie. Basically, that's why the script's a little all over the place with their characters and the whole shebang. That's why we get weird moments like the farting scene. You know, that's kind of what we get there.
Or like the weird Led Zeppelin guy love interest for Velma.
That's what I'm saying. Like originally, there were like James Gunn did push the boundaries with a lot of things. Like he was going to like do some meta like inside jokes for the Scooby fans. He's very much. I mean, I don't want to just recycle this point, but I might as well at this juncture. It's James Gunn, from what I hear, was going for the kind of the Brady Bunch movie thing where we take these '60s characters.
That's a solid pull, man. That's a solid pull.
That's the thing, is very much going for that, where he was just taking the kind of like take your '60s characters and you throw them into like a different time period, and that's where we get a lot of the comedy from. So that was his model for Scooby Doo, but it was going to skew a little bit more adult. As some people, you know, after many years, people have always kind of inferred things from the show, and that's basically what's going to bring them to surface. And some of that is in there, but obviously a lot of it, you know, gets watered down and CG'd out in some places. Which again, some of that CG budget took away from the dog. Let's see. So, I already mentioned like a lot of editings from the R to the PG. Essentially, it made just enough money. It made just enough money for a sequel. And as you can imagine, the critics for both movies, they weren't thrilled. And basically, obviously, there were a lot of TV movies made after this point. Basically, Warner Bros. Was trying to recoup their idea of like, let's see Scooby Doo in live action. And we did that, and then we did a sequel, and then basically we do some TV movies. The idea is all the hype died down after every interpretation. Like let's really go for it with the sequel, man. We try, we fail. Let's go to the smaller screen. Let's go to the small screen again, and then we get more animation, which basically kind of rebuilds things. So it's kind of the rise and fall of Scooby Doo in live action.
All right. All right. So Jinkies Dragon, it's a mystery.
Yes.
Ooh. Is Rowan Atkinson the villain?
No, he's Mr. Bean. So I love how we start things off with like a classic mystery with the Scooby Gang. I thought that's a really good call.
Oh, the cold open is easily the best scene in the movie.
Certainly. And of course, and this is one time, this is where we're getting like the smart meta jokes. You have like a celebrity cameo and everything with like Carmen Electra, I think. No, sorry, not
Pamela Anderson.
Right. I don't know why. I'm sorry, I was going to Carmen Electra from another movie. Sorry. But you're right. Yes, we go to Pamela Anderson. You know, like the doll. It's an old abandoned warehouse with like the doll warehouse and everything. You know, we're in all the tropes. They have a guy. Again, we're doing the practical stuff with a guy with like a helium system so he can fly like a ghost. Like we're doing all of it, man. And then we do kind of the really interesting thing where we see him break up, which again I think was like, if you're gonna. Rarely did we do this story. We only did it here, and we did kind of like it's less of a break. It more of like their lives took them to different places with zombie islands. Again, it's like the first time they actually like Velma broke the gang up.
Yeah. We explored the whole idea that Velma never gets any credit. That she's kind of just the, kind of the fourth wheel of the gang,
which is a really good idea.
Of course, Dragon, hold on really quick. I have to bring up because I just love this little nugget that it came from the 90s gave us. The Scooby Doo movie ride in Australia still plays the trailer for this movie in the queue like it was just released in theaters. It's true. I love that, Dragon. I love when theme parks are just like really, really have really outdated stuff, and it's just like, I don't know. That just kind of that strikes my theme park fancy. I love stuff like that. Anyways,
so
go ahead.
Essentially, we're taking the Scooby Gang and we're gonna throw basically after we regroup the gang 2 years later, which feels like really does it really need to be 2 years later? Really,
it doesn't feel like 2 years.
That's a thing. I mean, the idea is like they've had things going on between. So let me put it this way: in regards to our story, in regards to the grand mystery, I suppose again, one of my favorite things with Scooby Doo is like as I mentioned that I've sold this to you a whole bunch of times. The Mystery Incorporated TV show, or basically they rebooted Scooby Doo yet again, but we actually kind of like we looked at them as real high schoolers. We looked at them as they're basically we looked into them past just kind of what they've been for decades at this point. Like we look beneath the layers, so to speak. We give them some additional dimension. So I know for a fact, we can do this story properly because we did it there. Where we see like Fred, Fred's kind of obsessed with mysteries, and Velma. And like, what if we actually did some of the shipping, but we did it right? That sort of stuff,
Yeah.
So we kind of done that. It had actually legit mysteries that kind of built to an overarching thing. So again, obviously you can do that, and in here I like that we're going for the dimension thing. Velma feels underappreciated. Daphne feels like she's just the face of the group. That whole she feels like she's the glamour girl of the group, and she feels like she's not being valued for her contributions otherwise. All that sort of stuff. I like that we're doing that, and I like that contributes
Daphne
to a lot.
essentially just wants to break out of the damsel in distress role, most
Precisely,
importantly, because that's her most infamous contribution.
Yeah, she wants to be the strong, independent woman.
Right.
But seriously, I like that we're breaking up for like legit reasons. So at the start here, again, it's an odd way to start your movie. You break up the mystery gang, and usually it's like a trope that we kind of see in these movies. We have to break them up so you appreciate them getting back together again. I don't like how we get them back together, but I do like how we break them apart, though. It's a sad scene, man. It is.
And then that sad scene, much like Bambi's, little April shower scene, Dragon, we transition into just a straight up pot joke.
Yeah, and this is what I'm. See, this is what I'm talking about.
I like this joke because I'm a classic California stoner, so I appreciate it. It's basically kind of coming out and saying like, yeah, this is the gag with Shaggy and Scooby, folks.
But then we undercut that with the fact that no, they're not. They're just they're.
Which honestly, Dragon, are you upset that they undercut it? Are you upset that we didn't actually see them smoking weed?
No.
I mean, that's what I love about this gag is that we get it both ways. We kind of acknowledge with the gag. It's like, yeah, we know what we're all thinking about these two.
Yes,
but then But then when it comes back, it's like classic Shaggy and Scooby. They're grilling, it makes total sense for the characters, It's
true, but this is the tonal thing I'm talking about, though. I mean, yes, I'm glad we undercut it with something, sure, but I'm just saying it's systematic. If we just we're telling this is two movies going on here, where in one movie we would have just gone for it. Okay, that's what that's what we're doing with. And the other half, it's just like, yeah, no, we can't do that for the kids. And basically, why do we have this joke in the first place? It's kind of, I don't know, it's a little weird.
I don't know. I'll beg to disagree. I honestly think it's one of the best jokes in the movie.
Actually, I have a far more ridiculous best joke in the movie. We're gonna get to. We get to some stuff later on. Oh boy, it's so ridiculous, so silly and funny. Anyway,
it might be our favorite. We might have a shared favorite scene. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, look, yeah, I'm glad we undercut, but this is what I'm talking about. This is like the humor is a little bit of column A, a little column B. It's a little strange to me, but I mean, I'll admit it's clever if you're going for that. I guess it's just I don't know. Anyway.
Well, it's like I'm glad that the movie addressed it at least once because, like I said, it's like we're all thinking that about Shaggy and Scooby, anyways.
Yeah.
So.
But again, I'm just saying for the demographic, it's going to go over everybody's head in the demographic, though. It's kind of weird. But you're right. I see your point.
So I do kind of like that we don't, we kind of just have that flight and we don't really spend a lot of time with a mystery gang. Like we basically what I'm saying is that we build up the plot. We arrive at the island very quickly.
Yeah, I think all the plane stuff is just the plane stuff's kind of some pacing issues, if you ask me. I think, like, do we really need to get on the plane, get all these shenanigans and hijinks? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm sorry. You're right. I don't know what I'm saying.
Because, do I need to see Scooby Doo dressed up as an old lady and to get this ploy like they don't allow big dogs in the plane, which I don't think that's a thing. I mean, do they not do that or?
Hey man, the trailers love that bit.
Well, if the trailers love it.
And then, like, Scooby punching Fred square in the face.
Yeah, I get it, man. Imagine Dean from Supernatural must have loved that gag.
but then of course, yeah, I don't know. I tend to agree. Like the thing with the plane is that it doesn't last too long. Like basically, I like that it's just like, okay, Shaggy and Scooby get invited to the spooky island. They go to the spooky island. They meet up at the airport. It's it is kind of the airplane itself is a little dragged on, but I don't know. I think it's a nice, easy moving plot.
Tell me this though. I mean, tell me this does make you cringe a little bit. Just the end word. Okay, it's like, please, Grandma, don't eat the cat. Like, oh god, we're saying Scooby Doo's murdering. We're implying that Scooby Doo's murdering a cat, man. It's creepy.
Yeah, that's not great. That's not great.
That's what I'm saying. Isn't that just a little creepy?
Oh man. Okay, so then we arrive on. Okay, what do you think of just Spooky Island as the setting?
I'm mixed on it, man, because I like the idea.
I like the idea of like a spooky kind of like Horrorland theme park. Yeah, that's also like a spring break spot. Like I'm kind of digging that, but I just don't think it's conceptualized very well. Like I think one of the problems is that we never really get a good layout of this place.
True. I mean, here's the thing. I like how we have an excuse to get some old Scooby Doo kind of like kind of stamps, like staples, like the haunted house. We get through like this haunted house attraction. I like that. That's a good idea, especially with Scooby Doo. We put them on kind of a spooky version of the haunted mansion, essentially.
Sure.
But like kind of a more dangerous spooky island version of it. So, we do stuff like that. That makes sense. They're always on an island. Scooby Doo constantly going to an island where there's a castle, where there's something. So that makes sense too. So we're covering our tracks well on that, and basically what Gunn's going for here, from what I understand, is we're basically, this is the Brady Bunch effect. We're taking them and we're putting them in a modern setting. Where at this point we're in 2000 spring break. Very much kind of
that is kind of, like I said, that's kind of what I like about the spring break of it all. Honestly, is the fact that it is very modern.
Yeah. Again, though, I don't want to bog everything down, but seriously, it's just kind of. It's just kind of a thing where, again, I think it's because I think spring break's gonna go over a lot of kids' heads. I don't know. I don't want to just keep playing the kid cards. Forgive me for bringing up that point again. But just something keeps kind of dawning on me. Like, yet again, I don't know. It's kind of strange.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
But yeah, what is good about this, though, I mean, we do have like modern horror and the kind of the classic mystery of Scooby Doo meeting each other. Where we're taking the kind of that Matthew Lillard in a slasher movie type angle of, okay, what's the modern equivalent to Scooby Doo? Well, it's teens stuck kind of in a horror movie essentially. That's kind of what we do with this whole spooky island of it all. So that's kind of neat. I got to give them points there. Like, what if we take a modern day horror setting with meeting the deterrent of classic Scooby Doo?
And honestly, the theme park setting and the spring break of it all, I gotta tell you, Dragon, I hate to say it, but it does kind of call to mind like the whole summer of Six Flags thing in a nostalgic kind of way.
And again, probably intentionally, given how much it sold there.
Yeah. It's like, just, man, all I want to do is hang out on Spooky Island and chill with Stevie, with what's his name? I already forgot his name.
Oh, you mean Rowan Atkinson's character?
No. I mean the Sugar Ray.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Man, because we know that the greatest artist of our generation is Sugar Ray, Dragon.
Well, of course. I love his boxing.
Oh, God.
Whenever I hear Sugar Ray, my first thought is Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm not thinking of Anywho, no, regardless, now, let me ask you this. So again, this is kind of like bridging off the airport, the airplane stuff, but also just in general, like, they're very much at each other's throats in this movie. They're very much, with the exception of Shaggy loves everybody. Shaggy just wants to buy the world a Coke. That's what Shaggy wants to do, But here everybody's basically, they're all. I think we're splitting them up to give them a reason to literally split up in this reluctant reunion. Therefore, they're going on their different paths. Therefore, this leads to different clues and leads and suspects for the mystery overall. Yeah,
I mean, I got to tell you, Dragon. I was kind of alluding to this earlier, but I do think part of it is the James Gunn factor, because James Gunn, as much as we love him, like, his writing is pretty cynical.
It is, especially pre-Guardian, very cynical.
Exactly. So I do think a lot of it is kind of like, some of the tonal issues, like, as much as I love the guy and as much as I was like looking forward to revisiting this movie, I gotta tell you, I hate to say it, but I feel like his signature is kind of on this thing in a bad way.
Yeah, and again, this is what I'm going for. When you have people who, you have like what Scooby Doo is, but then if you want to say something about it, you're kind of in conflict there. Where again, you're gonna, it's trying to be like a really uber adult. It's kind of like the whole, kind of the Katzenberg's take on Toy Story effect. You once tell the edgy version of Toy Story, which just feels like unlikable, and it's like, oh man, these guys aren't having fun at all. Versus kind of what we eventually have. It's somewhat of a somewhat of a situation like that, where it's we're just completely in this wrong headspace for like we want to get the gang back together. Why did we break them up in the first place? Because cynicism,
plot.
man. Yeah, that's the thing. We're trying to deconstruct Scooby Doo, but at the same time, you want to see him fully constructed, so it's kind of an uphill battle,
Yeah, that's always kind of, and I don't know. I think the thing with the Brady Bunch movie, I mean, he keeps citing that, but the thing with the Brady Bunch movie is that the characters, like, unabashedly, unapologetically in that movie never broke character.
That's the thing. I mean, outside of Shaggy and Scooby, everybody else were trying to deconstruct them, which again, I like the deconstruction.
I would even argue Shaggy and Scooby to an extent.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But you see what I'm saying, though. It's the fact
they don't get it as bad as some of the others, but yeah, I do like. I think with Shaggy and Scooby, the thing with them is that unfortunately they're not trying to deconstruct them by any means, but they're kind of pigeonholing them into the whole like, oh, hey, it's the late 90s, early 2000s. We gotta have a lot of fart jokes.
Right.
And it's a dog and a guy that eats a lot of food, so he's going to get gassy, and all dogs fart in movies during this time period. Yeah. All right, I'm done.
But some of the meta stuff that does work, though. I mean, Daphne calling out the creepy voodoo shaman guy. I'm like, the whole like, you're playing mind games, but you want me to go to that castle, don't you? Or you don't want me to go. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, everything with that, everything with the whole, the setup and, kind of playing around with the, the red herring and everything, that all works really well.
Yeah.
Because this movie does kind of have like a clever like red herring within a red herring.
It kind of does. But let's talk about the real monsters aspect of all. Because again, as we've cited, again, we've seen the real monsters angle done very well. We have. This, not so much.
It's really not anything.
See, the real... Whenever of course, Scooby very classically, the built-in premise that you can subvert and kind of like say something about it. Again, when done right, in this case, not so much, is okay. Scooby, they're used to unmasking the bad guys. There's always a guy in a costume. There's always a real estate scam. It's what you know. It's safe as hounds. One could say.
That's what I love about Zombie Island is that Zombie Island had a real sense of just peril and like what the hell is going on.
And yeah, you throw the gang off. Here, we don't really linger on it. Here, it's okay. It happens, and now we're just in the movie. Now, it's just real monsters. And what are they going to do now? What can they possibly do now? That's the real question.
Or, I mean, and the thing is, this movie is just it's a lot of things, Dragon, but there's no suspense or dread involved. It's like you don't have any stakes to it, really.
We can't. Well, in all fairness, we do have one stake. I mean, we have one stake, but again, I just feels this one time it feels tonally off when we're mixing these two types of movies again. We're going awfully dark in the realm with this monster plot of like we're stealing people's souls.
The stake, are you talking about the stake that Scooby Doo is literally going to be a sacrifice? Is that the stake you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
what the hell is up with that, Dragon? I totally forgot about that plot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, think about it. Here's what I'm talking about. The monster plot gives us, the whole like, we're stealing people's souls and we're sacrificing Scooby Doo. It's awful. It's a little too dark for Scooby Doo, if you ask me.
Yeah. And honestly, that's sort of like I could see Drax the Destroyer, like, signing up excitedly to be a human sacrifice and that actually being funny. Yeah. But again, it's different characters, It's like you don't want to see Scooby Doo of all people be a sacrifice. It's especially because Scooby Doo is like so stupid that the whole joke of it is that he doesn't understand what's happening.
Nope.
It's just, oh god, that was really that scene was really off.
That's the difference. Okay, Zombie Island, we reveal their real monsters. We get to see them living with this realization, but also they're trapped on an island with two factions of monster. Importantly, the big thing it saves
so
all
good.
that is the fact that there is a reason, there's a rationale, there's a mythology behind it. There's a well thought out story. Here it's a there's a
Can
weird.
we just talk about Zombie Island? Can we just like stop this podcast midway through and just do a Zombie Island podcast instead?
We can't take the easy way out. We have to eat the vegetables.
Fine.
What I'm saying is, we have like the weird like the weird pyramid thing. That's what we're getting here. We're getting.
Oh my god, what's with that weird pyramid thing? That's
I'm saying we're having. I think the actual name of it's something
it's just
like
it's forget the actual name of it, Dragon. What it should be called is just a Deus Ex Machina.
The Demon-ritis, I believe it's his name. This whole like
it's such a bad name. That's such a bad name. That name doesn't sound like anything that's ever been in any Scooby Doo.
But you see what I'm saying? Like the fact there's no logic behind why these weirdly poorly designed monsters. Why do we have what's the logic behind these guys? There's no.
The designs look just utterly terrible.
That's what I'm saying. Like there's no rationale. There's no connection. Like why is our main bad guy going for like I'm gonna bring these guys back and basically he's going to really bizarrely ritualistic means just to kill Scooby Doo.
Yeah, it's not.
And again,
great.
if we learn anything from Supernatural, when they did Scooby Natural, again, they saw a better Scooby Doo story, even though that one's a cross. Again, that's doing two stories and having combined very well. But again, that's a whole different ballgame. Where what I'm saying is, you have like a whole Scooby Doo's life is at stake, and all of their lives are at stake in that special. But again, you feel and you live, and it's like, I'm not going to let anything happen to that dog. I take a bullet for that dog, man. This is not that story. You can't sacrifice Scooby-Doo in a movie you're trying to market to kids. You can't even entertain that notion. You can't do that. I think the reason I keep citing as Scooby Natural is because that one actually has Scooby-Doo. That's a proper mix of the tone where this is the tone we do not strike. Where you can have a more adult Scooby-Doo, but also going to have it work out a little bit. I think it's why subconsciously keeps citing it. I don't know why. I guess that's why.
Sure.
Anywho, so speaking of which, so our big bad guy, we're talking about our big bad guy.
Oh dear. Okay, so Rowan Atkinson is red herring.
But
except he's not really red herring. He's really the villain, except Rowan Atkinson himself is a robot, and the real Rowan Atkinson is kind of the red herring. Does that make sense at all, Dragon? It gets kind of convoluted.
Essentially, it's more ridiculous. I remember when Rowan Atkinson comes out of the thing at the end, where basically Shaggy finds the real. Oh,
can I guess what you're gonna say?
What am I gonna say?
Okay, so Rowan Atkinson comes out of the thing. He's got the beard, and then literally when they leave the thing, he's just clean shaven Rowan Atkinson again.
Well, that's not what I was going to bring up. That's an excellent observation. I kind of forgot. No. What I was going to point out is the fact that he basically gives the exposition about how Scrappy took over, which is ridiculous if you heard it, where basically he's saying that Scrappy was auditioning for like...
I don't know what to tell you. Like one day this little dog just showed up and then I ended up in a hole and yeah.
Yeah, this is so ridiculous. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, Dragon, I know you're not a Potter guy, but I'm just going to cite Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. The Mad-Eye Moody / Barty Crouch storyline is essentially this, but told way, way, way better. Just saying for all you Potter fans out there. Anyways.
But yeah, this Scrappy reveal. So, of course, again, with the meta contextualization of kind of our story here, so we're taking advantage of the fact no one likes Scrappy. Literally, no one likes Scrappy.
Okay, Dragon, this Scrappy thing to me has never sat right with me because I like Scrappy.
Really? You liked Scrappy?
I like Scrappy. As a kid, I like Scrappy.
But me too. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't hold up years later at all. When you really look
I know he doesn't. But I don't... Dragon, I have childhood nostalgia for Scrappy.
Yeah, I remember the
So that's why I just think Scrappy just being drugged through the mud like this is a little hard to see.
I will fully admit, yeah, this is the most cynical thing in the movie, the Scrappy flashback, easily the most.
Him just straight up peeing on Daphne, that is like, that moment is the second most cringy scene in the movie after Shaggy and Scooby's fart off.
You know what? This is gonna sound really bizarre, so forgive me. The in that flashback, the creepiest detail in that is when he does his business on Daphne. It's just like the fact that he just stands there. That's like it's weird to me. But the fact that he's just like he's. It takes everybody a minute because again, I don't know, it's because of the CG or what's the fact. It's just we're always paying in. We're like, what? It's like just that moment of horror, of like, what is happening? And in a Scooby Doo movie, like this is the benefit of cartoon dogs. We never have to address the bathroom stuff, the gross stuff with the dogs.
We didn't have to address the bathroom stuff in this movie. There's no reason why we had to.
But seriously, it's the fact. No, because it's a big plot point. That's why we have to. It's the fact that Scrappy gets kicked out of the gang for this action. It's ridiculous. That's what I'm saying. Like, we never...
Dragon. There's a couple things. There's several things that really don't sit right about this in terms of characterization. I mean, say what you will about it being a meta joke of like, haha, nobody likes Scrappy. Say what you will about it. That's fine. Dragon. The character is that Scooby is a damn good uncle to Scrappy. Scooby would never fucking leave Scrappy on the side of the road. Scooby and Shaggy have gone to the ends of the earth to save Scrappy's stupid little ass on tons of occasions. Like, this would just never, like, this makes Scooby unlikable, Dragon. That's the unfortunate thing. It's like, the whole thing with the Scooby-Scrappy dynamic is Scooby is the caring uncle. And then secondly, and equally as important, is that Scrappy idolizes Scooby. So, like, even if something like this were to happen, the lengths of which Scrappy goes to sacrifice Scooby is just, it's all so out of character, Dragon, on both their ends equally.
Imagine this. This is going to sound crazy, all right? Okay, just go with me on this little idea, okay? What if Scrappy felt sad about that? Okay, what if Scrappy had, I don't know, maybe one line at all, just saying, you were my uncle, and you cast me aside.
Yes, one line acknowledging the uncle thing. Yes, exactly.
The reason they didn't do that is because they realized it would make Scooby-Doo look horrible.
Right.
Instead, we get this ridiculous thing where basically we're acknowledging that, this man Scrappy's terrible, therefore we shouldn't feel bad about it. We kick them out, and he's like, I'm accused of Powerpuff Girls. It's like, yeah, we don't like Scrappy for this reason. In what we're seeing, it's like, I don't blame for casting this Scrappy out of the car because of how horrible they made in the movie, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a thing where Scrappy, regardless, Scrappy doesn't hold up.
But it's a bastardization of the character. Is as much as the character doesn't hold up.
That's the thing. Like, they're basically taking the fact that Scrappy doesn't hold him or using this as an excuse of let's make that even more negative than it already is. That's just the thing. Like,
right.
Basically, it's a cousin. Scrappy is a cousin Oliver. The old dad.
Okay, Dragon. I'll give you a perfect example of a character that totally didn't hold up in the original series and totally holds up in the reboot. Okay. And this might have been the direction they could have gone with Scrappy. Webby from DuckTales.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Literally just make Scrappy like a lovable like adventurer who's doesn't have the same sort of ego. Maybe he's a little self-conscious in the shadow of his uncle, I don't know.
Well, remember, the big thing with Scrappy, from what I remember, is that Scrappy, he was in all the other movies where he had just Shaggy and Scooby movies, where he had I turn into a werewolf, or I forget what that movie's called, but the big racing one where Shaggy gets turned into a werewolf. You have that, and there's that, and there's the ghoul school. Basically, it's a school of of daughters of the monsters, and like Shaggy and Scooby are camp counselors or something. It's really ridiculous, and Scrappy was there. My point is, all of these Blues Brothers, whatever you want to list off, there was this section of movies for a while before they kind of repackaged things. Let's just do Adventures of the Scooby Gang again. You had Scooby and Shaggy, and Scrappy was filling in for the rest of the gang because they needed to circumvent the fact, we only have two of our breakout characters here. We need to bump up our cast a little bit. Enter Scrappy. And again, some of that holds up, some of that doesn't. We're Scrappy's there just because he's carrying the rest of the weight. And that's the thing, because it boils down to the fact the gang works best when they're without Scrappy, but at the end, Scrappy himself he's the cutesy villain. He's the cousin Oliver villain of we need someone to spice up the ratings. We need somebody for the kids. We need someone for the kids because Shaggy and Scooby eating's just only going to go for so long. We need someone to get them in trouble. Because if
okay, but right there, what you just said, the fact that Scrappy was literally like a character created for children, that's what makes it feel even more cynical, you know?
yes, that's the thing. It's a fact. I guess the logic is, Scooby and Shaggy. They wouldn't, in their right minds, they would never go into these dangerous monster-filled situations. Therefore, Scrappy's the instigator doing these things. So obviously, my point is like we're again things that aren't matching here. We're again Scrappy. We have to recontextualize him for what we think we're doing here, which is an adult movie, which we're then pulling back the reins on. Therefore, we're going to go really off the reservation with Scrappy and make him the bad guy. Making him the bad guy is one thing, but then making him a bad guy who wants to kill Scooby Doo, that's another thing entirely.
And then another thing entirely beyond that is, did we really need him turning into like a giant, terrible CGI mutant?
That's what I'm saying. And for what reason? Do you mean to tell me he absorbs all these souls? He's basically killed a lot of people. If he doesn't release those souls,
right?
People. He's absorbed people's souls to what? Become like a giant, weird monster dog god? Why? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, really, his goal, his motivation, it really makes no sense whatsoever.
The point, it's a bizarre meta twist that, I don't know, even if you wanted to go into the negative with Scrappy, you should have kept it a lot more subtle. Like, he was behind a real estate scam as per usual, or something. Or
I like the real estate scam idea.
You know
that's good.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I could buy Scrappy as a villain. Like, I'll even throw you this much. I'll put him in the robot suit just for weird sake, okay? I'll put him in the robot suit, fine. What I'm saying is Scrappy in a robot suit trying to maybe he breaks up the gang. Maybe like they were together and he tried to break them up on a mystery. I mean, I'm not saying it's great.
That's
I'm just spitballing here. But that's what I'm saying. If you want to, you got to keep it smaller scale. You can't have these trying to steal people's souls and kill the dog.
Sacrifice the dog.
Sacrifice? You know what kills me about that scene too? Again, Rowan Atkinson, say you will again. Does he belong in a better movie? Probably, but still, Rowan Atkinson though.
He's trying, man. He's really trying.
Rowan Atkinson's just so freaking good, man. He is. He's so good in movies. But I just love how he just shows up here. I just love it during that scene, that sacrifice scene. He without saying a word, he just like nods. And just love the nod there. It's like, it's just so ridiculous. But it's like saying with the utmost conviction of yes, sacrifice. Yes, talking dog who's eating all my Scooby snacks I kept in the office just for him here. Yes, sacrifice. Anyway. All right, so point being, I look into mystery overall before we move on here. So again, it's a mystery that kind of goes into a revenge motive, which is very unusual. We rarely ever see that with Scooby-Doo doing a revenge motive story. So maybe that's kind of where they went south in that department.
Mm-hmm.
All
right. Dragon, I want to play the clip that my sister and I just couldn't get enough of back in the day.
Okay.
If you don't mind, it's about 45 seconds.
You'll need to learn societal do's and don'ts. Interaction between young people is polite and casual.
Hey, sorry, bro.
I will crush your bones into dust!
Let's see how the situation should be handled. Remember, today's young people have a language all their own.
Sorry, bro.
No big whoop, dog. Yo, did you catch that new vid on the box?
True that. I'm up to snuff on all popular trends.
Word.
Oh my god. Dragon, that is the funniest thing in the movie. I don't care what you say. That is the funniest thing in the movie.
Yeah, that was not the gag I was thinking of, but
you appreciate that gag, though. Tell me you do.
Look, I want to make it clear. I appreciate that, but again, I know that gag does not land with everybody. I know that for a fact. Okay?
Oh, it landed with me and my sister, and that's all I care about.
I'm saying that gag is 100% James Gunn, and that's absolutely that's what I'm talking about. That's in that.
I mean, there's so many things I love about that gag. I think my favorite detail is like the blonde kid in the background playing piano.
That's what I'm saying. Though. That's a clever,
like
the
joke. First one where it's just like, I will crush your bones into dust. And then the second one where it's just Dragon. The thing that killed me and my sister, that absolutely slayed us, was the word followed by the wink sound effect.
Word.
Oh my god, that just,
I want to
I
make
don't know.
I absolutely hear you, man. That's a clever joke, but again, for the wrong type of Scooby Doo movie, not for like the
All right,
longer
fair enough.
mass
I mean,
consumption.
it
Here.
does feel out of place. It does feel out of place, but it's still hilarious.
It is. It's hilarious. All right, let's break down our characters here.
Okay, let's break down the meddling kids. Okay, so let's start with Velma. She doesn't really have a ton to do in the movie. I mean, she does kind of instigate the breakup with, basically Velma's whole idea in this movie is wanting to get more credit, and it's kind of a story arc where, like, oh, at the end of the movie, Fred gives her credit, and he gives her a nickname, and he lets her talk about the mystery. Isn't that nice? Isn't that a nice, solid, wrapped-up story arc with a bow on top?
Of course, Velma played by the wonderful Linda Cardellini, and I got to tell you,
She's
Cardellini,
great. She's such solid casting.
She is, and man, that's what I'm saying. The casting is just perfect for this movie. It really is.
Uh-huh.
So she's also, I got to tell you, I swear to God, I looked head up and down, but apparently this guy's uncredited. The Led Zeppelin guy.
What is up with that? He never gets a name.
Well, man,
I'm just gonna call him the Led Zeppelin guy.
The actor's name is like something Cousins. It's like his last name's Cousins, but it's like that's the thing. It's point being, like, I looked up and down. He's just basically, he's credited as, I think he's technically credited as Velma's friend, so we might as well just go with Led Zeppelin.
Velma's friend.
I'm saying that's what he's credited as. We might as well just call him Led Zeppelin guy. I don't know. I mean, look, I like that. I like when things work out for Velma, especially in the love department. She's overdue, man. She deserves some happiness. I don't know. It's kind of nice.
I mean, I am a guy that kind of like unabashedly falls for the geek girls. So yeah, Velma's always been hotter than Daphne for me.
Well, I mean, let me put it this way: without getting on a tangent, let's just say Linda Cardellini. She's very lovely, and I think the role reflects her well. I'll say that much. Is she a great Elias Daphne, though? I mean, come on. Let's be honest. No one can be. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. But yeah, sorry. Basically, you kind of hit all the points there, and she gets credit by the end. Good for her.
All right. So Fred, played by Freddie Prinze Jr., is probably my favorite character in this movie, if I'm being honest.
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, with Freddie Prinze Jr., he's so, especially on the revisit, amazingly, he sounds so on the money. That's how Fred sounds. And of course, just so apropos, Freddie Prinze Jr., another Fred, sounds like Fred. What do you know? The difference is, here he's very ego-driven. I love the idea that post the breakup of the gang, like Fred's the one who went for all the book deals and the fame after the breakup. I love that idea, but I gotta be honest. Again, this is unfair movie because years later I think they got this better. I always like the idea of Fred with tunnel vision versus like Fred who's just kind of the fame guy here. Where I love it where basically, Fred is obsessed with traps and unmasking people. That's kind of Fred's kryptonite. Like the Mystery Inc. show did that so well, where he basically, like, Daphne would try to hit on Fred, try to spike something up there, like, hey, what you want to go out to a movie or something? Says, Daphne, I'd love to, but I got to finish this trap so we can catch some guys, catch some bags. I thought it was hysterical. That's what I'm saying. Like, guy's obsessed with I like a Fred who's just kind of dense. He's dense and just not quite picking up on the cues, basically kind of the self-appointed leader because he's very much kind of like all obsessed with the mysteries and stuff. But I can't take away Prinze Jr. He's perfect for this role, though.
Did you? I don't mean to sidetrack the conversation, but did you hear that Freddie Prinze Jr. recently went on kind of a tirade against like nitpicky Star Wars fans?
Really? Oh, well, I know why. You know why? He's in one of the Star Wars shows. He's
he's Kanan.
Yeah, he's one of the Jedis in that. He's really good too.
Yeah, I don't know the full context for the situation, but apparently it was on a podcast and he dropped about 30 F-bombs in the span of about 3 minutes.
Well, to be fair, so was Kevin Smith on a regular basis, so that's not exactly the most on. Fair enough. The important distinction to make, were they aggressive F-bombs?
I think they were.
Well, if that's the case, then you might be on to something there. That's kind of a shame. But I gotta tell you this. So here's the downside of the Fred in the movie, though. I think Fred out of the group as a whole, I think, again, as well cast as he may be, I think Fred's behavior is probably the most douchey out of the group, if I'm being honest.
I mean, yes, but it's fucking Fred.
But that's a thing. I don't know if
Like,
it's just
Fred is like the embodiment of a douchebag.
But this is the thing, though. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, and it's like a thing like your kind of your Scrappy Doo point earlier. I never read Fred as that much of a bad as a bad guy in the old series. Like, yeah, he's the guy's like he's always the
He's
guy
not a
taking
bad guy, and I'm kind of calling him a douchebag in an endearing way, but like he is clearly like the Joe College, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's very much kind of the ascot collegial of the group. Sure, basically it's the guy going, he's splitting everybody, taking the authority to split everybody up. And I just feel like, let me put it this way: out of all the characters, I feel Fred was the biggest character in the movie where basically we're taking all the stuff we've already kind of said for years watching the show and we put this all into the character now where, okay, Fred and Daphne have a thing. They got a relationship, which kind of comes out of nowhere by the end of the movie if you really look at it. It's just basically based on the fact that, okay, Fred and Daphne, probably the best looking people in the group, they should end up together. You know why? Because it looks good on a Christmas card. That's why. Just for reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And we do stuff like, I don't know. It just feels like Fred's always been the guy who splits everybody up, and no one else ever gets a chance to worse. So maybe he's an ego-driven guy. So we're kind of extrapolating a lot with Fred. Not the worst thing, just kind of something there. I don't know.
I mean, I honestly think the meta humor with Fred is not nearly as damaging as with some of the other characters.
All right. I will say this though. I gotta tell you, I like good fashion. I gotta tell you, I think Fred's very well dressed later on when they kind of get him out of like the classic, kind of the classic Fred. Got a good style to him. I gotta give him points there.
I mean, he is the person in the cast that feels like he belongs in that kind of like spring break setting.
Yeah, well, he is kind of possessed though, so.
Right. All right. Daphne, right, okay.
Daphne, of course, Sarah Michelle Gellar. This is basically you remember how early this is for Sarah Michelle Gellar? She'd been doing Buffy for a few years at this point. This is like her basically fielding her Buffy transition through the Daphne character. Who you gotta remember, Daphne, in essence, she's kind of a blank slate of a character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, like, she's always like, we can always do things with Daphne. It's always a question, like, again, like, take the Brave and the Bold thing, case in point, it's always this sort of thing where, she's, like, look at Monsters Island or anything, sometimes she's a reporter, sometimes you'll get a pup named Scooby Doo. She's a rich girl, she's this, she's that, maybe she, like, does crossword puzzles, maybe, she has, like, but she's got a lot of potential. We always, like, Daphne's kind of our conduit for, Daphne has a relative, Daphne, et cetera, et cetera. Daphne's usually our conduit for the mystery, and then we go on from there, and Daphne's just kind of, if we're being honest, yeah, in part she's like, yeah, she's kind of eye candy, at least back in the old days she was. So what we gave her here is kind of, let's take advantage of. We have Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's kind of in this actiony role right now. She's kind of all weeded up, so to speak. So let's make her like kind of a fighting. Basically she's fighting this damsel in distress role. Which I got to be honest, you look at her in the series. In the series, she wasn't that much of a damsel. I mean, I'm not saying like they weren't put in peril, but I mean, if you really think about it, how many times was she singled out to be put in peril? I don't know. That's one you really want to look back for and see how much that tracks. But I'm sure at some time she was, therefore they kind of got that from somewhere. I don't know. But basically, a lot of this kind of gets springboarded into strong, independent woman. She has to be this, this kind of mecca for like, she has to be the aspiring role model for the girls in the audience there. And again, I think Daphne is probably the most affected by again that rift of, again, we're telling a James Gunn movie, and there's kind of a James Gunn movie in the writing here versus kind of like something for the kids out there. I feel Daphne's very much kind of put in there for the kids. Because basically in the movie she's kind of the girly girl with an edge, since the split up. Of course, basically she was kind of the bait and kind of the damsel in distress in her opening, and she's very much been fighting that since that opening in that two year gap. And she's kicking the luchador guy, she's kicking him around like, who's damsel in distress now? Me. Just all that sort of stuff. I do like that she's. I really do like she's being proactive. That's kind of nice. Like she's seeking out the mystery. She's trying to kind of get the glory for herself in a sense. But I think some of that does get old a little fast. I must admit though, it is kind of nice to see Daphne. It was kind of silly though. Yeah, I forget if it was during this movie or the second one. It's kind of nice, that Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. It's kind of nice that Fred and Daphne kind of ended up together in real life. They got married, I think, after this movie. I don't know if it was by coincidence or because they spent time on the movie, and it's going to happen. So many other stories of people. Sometimes people shoot together. Sometimes they play. The girlfriend or the wife of somebody. Many a times that relationship works out in real life because they spend so much time together. They could probably get to know each other off set. And you look at Ben McKenzie and Miranda Backer on Gotham. Gordon and Leslie Tompkins. They end up together, and so on and so forth. Of course, some more infamous examples I won't bore you with, like the Benefers of the world, all that sort of stuff. Anywho, all right. So let's mosey on to Shaggy and Scooby. So Shaggy, of course. Oh my goodness, I tell you, Matthew Lillard as Shaggy. I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of Tiki's sentiments in his opening statement, during his thesis at the start of this little thing, but. I can tell you, I feel Shaggy was the best represented character in the piece. I really do. I think we kind of sold him as someone of the heart and soul of the group, and I really liked that angle with him. I already liked Shaggy and Scooby. I mean, look, that sounds like the most original thing. You like Shaggy and Scooby, and who doesn't like Shaggy and Scooby? I mean, through all the stuff, your pup named Scooby Doo, your Scooby Doo, where are you? Again, it's basically Scooby and Shaggy going on their misadventures. There's a lot of built-in nostalgia for them. So. It's really great to see that character represented well, and my God, seeing him kind of put in live action, played by Matthew Lillard, was just something else. And I tell you, that breakup scene at the start of things, it's absolutely just tragic. Just Shaggy is giving his go, like, come on, guys, we're like this awesome banana split of a team when we're all working together. Teamwork makes the dream work. All that, just seeing like everyone leaving but Scooby Doo is just the saddest thing you've ever darn near seen. It really is.
Yeah, just to go back to Sarah Michelle Gellar really quick. I like her portrayal. I just think the one thing that I will kind of criticize on her end, and you probably spoke to this, is I just think that they tried so hard to be like, oh no, I'm not a damsel. I'm not the person who needs to be rescued. That it almost kind of becomes like it kind of wraps around to become a self-parody. It really is just like it kind of gets repetitive.
Yep.
And then with Matthew Lillard, like I said, the only thing I can say is that I really wish that fart off wasn't in there, but I don't blame him for that, of course.
I mean, take the fart jokes out. Matthew Lillard was perfect in the movie. He really was.
Sure.
Yeah, I love how I gotta tell you, my favorite thing with Shaggy in this movie, I love that well, first of all, I love that he's avoided mysteries for 2 years with Scooby Doo, just hanging out in the mystery machine, just like, okay, let's just like the minute someone's like knocking at the door, oh god, they're gonna ask us to solve a mystery. I get out of here. But my favorite thing in the movie, honestly, my favorite quality in the movie, I love Shaggy as cowardly as he is, as he's faithfully represented to be. I love that I love how he saves the day in certain aspects of the movie. I love how Shaggy is kind of very proactive, accidentally proactive, let's call it, because again, he is kind of he saves he saves his friends when they get turned into protoplasmic soul heads. He's saving their bacon there, and of course, I think one of my favorite bits of the movie is without hesitation. Shaggy, goes to save Scooby Doo when Scooby Doo's in peril. Like he just jumps out. Things ordinarily Shaggy would never do, but if it's his pal in trouble, he's got to save Scooby. And I love the endearing qualities, the dimension we added to Shaggy with moments like that. That was really special to me in the movie.
Yeah,
given the built-in love you got for that guy. And Scooby Doo. I mean, look, we've already kind of spoken to the effects of it all. I mean, what the most baffling thing about Scooby Doo in this movie is to me?
What?
The fact that Frank Welker, I mean, of course, Frank Welker does voices for basically every animal in animation, practically. Almost every animal sound. Now, anytime you hear an animal, it's usually Frank Welker. Of course, voiced Fred and Scooby-Doo, but also eventually he voiced Fred and Scooby-Doo. And unbelievably, he does not do the voice of Scooby-Doo, and it baffles me why that is not the case.
Yeah, I mean, the voice of Scooby sounds good enough, but it's definitely not Frank Welker.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it was because obviously sometimes there's a divide in the industry where basically studios won't go with the voice actor because they need a name actor, but they didn't even get a name actor. You got like an
They
Australian
did
guy.
not get a name actor at all.
We just got an Australian guy for Scooby Doo. You really couldn't have? You have Frank Welker doing the voice of the generic CG monster guys. You couldn't have him do the voice of the other CG character. Really? Who's a dog?
Yeah, that really doesn't make sense.
I do like the idea of like Scooby Doo being a pure soul. Though. That's kind of a neat idea. I mean, if you're going to have him be sacrificed for ridiculous reasons, at least there's a good reason for it. Like, Scooby Doo never means anybody harm until he's like knocking Scrappy around the very end until we reinvent
or
that.
Leaving Scrappy on the side of the road, even though he's his beloved nephew.
Yep. So let's talk about.
Dragon, did you check the private chat?
Oh. Oh God. Yes. Yes. I now have. Let's. Okay. Let's wrap this up here.
Okay.
Yeah, you start off. Go on.
Okay. So final thoughts.
Yes. Final thoughts. Look. Obviously, there's. So obviously, there's a. Sorry. I know for a fact the story can work because again I've seen it work with other things years later. Again, this isn't a bad idea, but especially 2002, I think they did what they could in certain regards, like the effects and everything. Like obviously, Scooby was not going to look great in 2002, even if we tried really hard, which they didn't have that in the budget. This movie hasn't a marketing dream in 2002. It really hasn't. The movie gave us an A+ cast. It gave us kind of kind of like the Shaggy for the ages that kind of filled into the role very nicely. It's a shame that it felt it needed to be less cartoony. It just feels like kind of a weird oxymoron that we need to be less cartoony with a Scooby Doo movie. And it's really funny. I think 50 years later in the Scooby Doo, years later after this movie's come out, like where we're at now with Scooby Doo and what we do with things, we're looking at it in the meta context. I think this movie might have thrived more today and would have been able to kind of be whatever it wanted to be if it figured it out today than it would have been then. So it's kind of strange the way that works out.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously I think that all of the DVD, like the direct-to-video movies from the 90s really hold up a lot better than this one does. Especially Zombie Island. I mean, if you take a comparison between this one and Zombie Island, it's like Zombie Island does everything right, and this one pretty much does most everything wrong. But I don't know, Dragon. Like we keep saying, the cast is very solid for the most part. It's just kind of unfortunate that everything else around it is a little bit messy. And, God bless James Gunn. I really don't blame him. It's just, I'm sure it was a lot of studio mandates, and I'm sure if he really got to write the script that he wanted to write in this day and age, I think it would be amazing. I would love to see James Gunn's take on a Scooby-Doo movie post-Guardians. I think that'd be really something special if he were to do it, given, pretty much free reign on it, because he's a big-name guy now. So, and like I said, Dragon, I think really importantly, Matthew Lillard is just a totally, invaluable contribution to the Scooby-Doo franchise. I mean, he was a get man, and I'm so glad this movie exists just so we could, he really is the torchbearer to Casey Kasem. He truly is. He truly is the next generation of Shaggy Rogers. There were a lot of kind of stand-ins for Shaggy that I'm interested to kind of re-explore as we go through those movies eventually. But man, Matthew Lillard, they really just found a guy that just kind of radiates Shaggy Rogers all throughout his being, and Matthew Lillard is it. And I'm glad that he's still involved with the franchise. So.
Real quick before we guys want to mention my favorite joke real quick. I love the Melvin.
Oh yes, of course.
I love the Melvin Dew joke. It's my favorite joke in the movie.
Melvin Dew, yes, that's good. That's good.
For a Mr. Dew here, is there a Mr. Dew? Is it Melvin Dew? And of course we call this back later looking for Scooby Doo. Don't you mean Melvin Dew?
Don't you mean Melvin Dew?
I love that Melvin Dew joke so much.
All right. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, Dragon, just to tease it up a little bit. This time we talked about a mystery gang. Dragon, next time we're going to talk about a dynamic duo.
That we are.
Who could it be? Who could it be? The text of Scooby Doo is a little bit of a hint. Orange.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways, all right. So yeah, that'll be very exciting. Shit, Dragon. Can you do the outro, Dragon? I don't have it in front of me.
All right, folks. That's the end of tonight's spooky selection, and our spirits grow weary, but they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks.